You are listening to episode 2 of The Connected Yoga Teacher. This episode has been brought to you by Shannon Crow Yoga and Consulting. This is the work that I'm really passionate about. From managing my own yoga business for the last 10 years and my work as studio director, I've noticed how I really like to dive into conversations with yoga teachers and studios to help them. I like to share what I have learned. I work with yoga teachers on all different kinds of topics. I help them to build a strong foundation for their business. Questions that don't go away or that are difficult to answer usually need a little more digging. This is the consulting work that I do. The reason I really get excited about doing this work is that I know when I help yoga teachers to save time, money, and frustration, they're better able to serve their community and share more yoga. So as a really good example, when a teacher comes to me and asks what they should name a yoga class, I take them through a lot of different steps. We work to define what they're interested and skilled at. Then we start to look at who their ideal yoga student is. In a future episode, you're going to hear a little more of this work. We start to then together get a clear picture of what work is unique to them in their yoga business. This kind of foundation is what helps yoga teachers to see more students, more income, but also just to feel like their business is an expression of what they want it to be. I have 2 mentors that I work with, and I see the impact this has. I work with Barb Elias on the personal side of my life, and I work with Natalie Ekdahl of BizChicks on the business side of things. So I'm always learning from them, and I'm not afraid to reach out for help. So I thought it would be exciting today to share a consult call that I did this week with Nina. So thank you so much in advance, Nina. I know I've already thanked you. I know Nina as a local yoga teacher. She studied with me in the Art of Assist course here in Owen Sound. She's been a yoga teacher for over 3 years, but has a personal practice spanning well over that. She runs a very successful yoga business in terms of great class sizes, and she has a supportive, wonderful community of students. So all of this is going really well for Nina in her yoga business. And at the same time, she shared with me, as you'll hear in the call, how she was feeling sort of stuck and like she was lacking a meaning, especially when it came to her own yoga practice. So we'll dive into the consult call right now. Welcome, Nina. I'm so excited that we're working together today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, I know a little bit about you. I know that you're a yoga teacher and you live up on the Bruce Peninsula, close to where I'm located. And I guess we met through different teacher trainings. And I've had the privilege of kind of getting to know you and getting to know your quiet and calm nature. Just give a little introduction of your yoga journey so far.
Yeah, well, I started yoga in about the year 2000 because I was at a very stressful job and I was getting lots of migraines, like frequent migraines, and I was being sent around for different therapies and nothing was working until one day this chiropractor said to me, "So when are you going to do something about this?" And it was like this aha moment, like, oh, I have responsibility over my own well-being and health. Like, it just didn't occur to me. I didn't make that connection. I just felt like I would go to somebody and then they would heal me as opposed to me trying to heal myself. So I decided that I needed to make myself stronger and better able to manage stress in my life. So I took my first yoga class, and I haven't really looked back since, but I practiced for many years in the Ashtanga world until I did my teacher training, which was about 3 or 4 years ago now, and I was introduced to more of a Hatha and Anusara practice, and really saw the benefit of changing the genre that I was doing. And it was hard for me to shift, but when I did, it was a good fit for me. And so I started teaching yoga 3 years ago in my community, a really small community, Lion's Head on the Bruce Peninsula. And I've loved getting to know my students and teaching, starting off with 1 or 2 students, and, I've had up to 20 in my classes. It's been great and very rewarding. So that's where I am right now.
Okay. And then let me know what you would like to work on most today.
Even though I've been very satisfied in my yoga teaching, I have not been satisfied with my own personal practice and my own continued journey and education in the yoga world. So I really want to find more meaning in yoga again on a personal level, and then on a kind of community and practical level, I also want to figure out, okay, I've been doing this for 3 years. I teach 3 classes, and I could continue just doing this and coasting and treading water. That's how I've really been feeling. Or, what else is there? And I know that in my own personal life, there's some things holding me back. And as far as like other jobs that I have that have no meaning to me, that I just do because I think I should do them, just figure out how to move forward, because at the moment I just kind of feel a little bit stuck.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That is amazing. And I think it's a place that I myself know really well as a yoga teacher and as a human being on the planet. And I think it's a great discussion for us to dive into for other yoga teachers who might be feeling the same way. So I really appreciate that you're sharing all of that with us. I know you, and you have a very successful yoga business. So you're teaching 3 classes a week. You have nice class numbers, and that all is fitting really well. So where in your own practice, if you rewind back to before you started teaching, where did you feel like there was a lot of meaning in your yoga?
Like, do you mean on the mat or taking the yoga off the mat?
Either one, if you want to start with either one. If you can think of something that maybe if you think of a certain time where you felt like yoga was really filling you up and giving you a lot of meaning and giving you a lot of tools.
There's been various times in my life where I've really gone to yoga for meaning, and especially, early on when I was, an early learner. And I felt like, when I was practicing yoga on the mat, that it gave me a sense of purpose outside of, my job and my career and friends and family. It was something that was mine, and I almost always practice on my own. Like, it was always something that I did solo, and I just enjoyed that time challenging my body and challenging my mind. Yeah. And
you said it was mainly a solo practice.
Well, what I mean is, like, I wasn't kind of going to a yoga class with friends. I really considered my yoga practice a study, and I would go to a class, but I would go on my own. And then I had my own practice as well. But, finding a teacher, finding a place to practice, I think that also was important to me too, and being inspired by going to these classes and being challenged. So I guess that's what I meant about doing things solo. It wasn't, a thing that I did with my girlfriends on a Saturday. It was something that I took very seriously, but it was more on an individual basis.
Okay. So are you going to any classes now? I know the Bruce Peninsula well. It gets pretty small and quite remote the further north you go. So are there any group classes that you do attend?
No.
So do you think
I think that's part of the problem.
Right. Okay. So aside from like packing your whole family up to a place that's full of yoga, what does your personal practice look like now? Say in an average week. And I know you're a busy mom as well, and there's no guilt with this, and there's no, just really like, average week, this is what my practice.
Yeah. It's been almost non-existent for some time now, and that's mostly been because of personal circumstances with having to travel a lot to visit my dad. And, I can think of a million excuses why I haven't been doing it, but I just haven't had the will to really have my own personal practice. When I do practice practice, it's all about kind of preparing for teaching. And it's not about me. It's just about, okay, what am I going to teach this week? How am I going to do it? And thinking about, my students. And it's a very practical exercise. It's not yoga the way that I've experienced it before. It's much more utilitarian,
Mm-hmm. So this is something that I know so well in my own life. Mm-hmm. And when you say that you're coming up with many excuses, I do want to clarify as well, though, that you've had some family stuff that you're going through as well. So on this end of things, giving yourself permission that those aren't really excuses, that life has filled up in many ways for you.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect of it. But the other aspect where you say that you're preparing for teaching. So here is just my own personal story with that. Before I took my yoga teacher training, I went to yoga class just to do yoga. Mm-hmm. And then once I became a teacher, I went to different yoga classes to try and remember poses. And I got to the point where I couldn't really shut off the yoga teacher that was trying to take in information. Mm-hmm. I can equate that to a different vocation or a different job. So I love to read fictional books, and I'm not a writer. So I find it really easy just to get into a fictional book, read it for total pleasure, and I'm not looking at how the sentences are put together. Mm-hmm. That's the gift that we give our students when they come to class. And I think it's a dance that I still don't have completely figured out. Solidifying my at-home practice is something that I'm always working with, and it may always be that way, but I will tell you a couple of things that have helped me, and we can see if they are things that might work in your own life. So these were put forward to me by a mentor, a teacher of mine, Barb Elias, and she had asked me to do a physical practice that wasn't yoga. Mm-hmm. So I did that for a while, and it was really hard for me to find that shift. She wanted me to do more of like strength training with weights and a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. And that was very difficult for me. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that needs to be your thing, but what recently has helped me to shift out of this is I go to my yoga mat with almost darkness in the morning, a candle, so I can't write on paper, mm-hmm. often silence or music that has no lyrics. And I don't think about doing yoga poses. I just think about moving my body. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that might be worth a try. The other key piece for this that I found for myself is setting the intention way before I do my practice. So I set up my yoga room the night before. Mm-hmm. Like I end my workday, and before I go to bed, I make sure that my yoga mat's handy. It doesn't have to be right out, although lately I found that it's very handy to have it out. Now that's because I like to practice in the morning. So if you can find a time, like when for you is free, where you don't have a lot of distractions in your house, and it feels like, okay, now is the time that I most want to be doing some movement.
I love doing yoga in the morning before breakfast, before doing anything else. But family life really gets in the way of that. And short of waking up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and I don't think I'm there yet. I think it would be, once, my husband and Isaac are out of the house, and it's a day where I am home, that would be the time I could do it. Would be in the morning, but not until kind of after breakfast and lunch is made and getting people out the door.
Right, because that's a really busy time. I get that mm-hmm. with my kids. And yeah, not everyone wants to get up early. It takes me a half an hour to wake up, I realized. Because I used to think, okay, I'll wake up at this time and then I will start doing yoga. But there's a time in between. A couple of things that I'd love for you to try this week, if you can, is to just plan only one yoga time for this week. So if you break it down, you make it much smaller. so that if it starts off as one day, and you know for this one day you're going to you could pick between 10 and 30 minutes, but you may even just decide, okay, it's going to be 5 minutes that I start with. I would start really small. And in that yoga time, make it so that it's like setting something up really nice for you. So if you can go and make a tea for yourself to take with you, or maybe you have something that has a lot of meaning for you, like something like a rock from outside, or something that holds meaning to you or that you want to place meaning towards. So in the wintertime, a lot of mine is around lighting a little candle, because I struggle to get up when it's dark. So for me, it's this finding a light. So something that brings you into this ritual. And the ritual is no longer about writing down poses for your students. You may find, like sometimes you find a pose and then you think, wow, I really want to share that. And that's fine. If it enriches your classes, which it will filter out. But just notice if you start thinking, I need to remember this, because we're going to let that go at that time, if at all possible. And then after this movement of some sort, so it could be standing in mountain for 10 minutes. It could be sitting in meditation. Just that space where you think, I'm going to nurture myself. I'm going to put some blankets around me. I'm going to have a tea nearby. And then if you have a journal or something that you really like to do afterwards, so maybe it's reading or going for a walk, so that it's this whole time of treating yourself, and you're going to slowly expand it. Does that feel like that's doable? Or do you feel like, okay, one day a week I can do that in the next 7 days kind of thing? Or are you feeling like, no, I want to do this every day?
It's funny. I want to do it every day. I don't know if it's possible to do every day.
Okay.
And I don't know if I have the will to do it every day.
Okay. So let's let that go.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to get from doing it every day? Let's start with, why don't we see how we feel on that one day?
Yeah.
So is there a day that you can think of, a day of the week, any day, Sunday all the way through Saturday, that feels like that's the day when I have a nice chunk of time and I really want to nurture myself?
I could do that on Monday.
Okay. So Monday at what time?
Morning.
Monday morning. At what time?
Like 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Nice. And picking a time between 10 minutes and 30 minutes, what feels right in there?
I think 30 minutes.
Okay. Now it's okay if you get to it and you think, well, I just spent 60 minutes and I didn't even know. And in that 30 minutes, you can do the setup time. So the getting your tea, setting up your space. I would say on Sunday night, just to let yourself know, like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make sure my yoga space is ready. Not everything has to be out, but something that signifies, okay, I've got that ready. Like for me, a good example is my yoga space is also my office. So the last thing I want to see when I walk into my yoga space is my computer, ready to go, and my notebook. That would throw me into a different space than a yoga space, for sure. Yeah. So I close everything and I make sure everything's away the night before.
Right. Okay.
All right. Well, that is feeling good. Now, what about in terms of, one other thing I just want to touch on is bringing in, so you mentioned a few times that when you were finding meaning, I heard a lot of words like you were learning, you were studying, you were doing it on your own, it sounded like, and taking the information in about yoga. So how in your life are you doing that right now as a teacher? Again, no guilt is in this question. I don't want you to feel...
Well, I've been taking some of the assist courses from you. So that's been a bit of professional development that I've done in the past 6 months, I guess. And that has been probably the only kind of formal professional development that I've done.
Okay. And it can be, reading books, watching yoga videos?
I've watched, some videos, but again, it's more, I do that for inspiration, to watch and do certain videos like on YouTube just to be like, oh, okay. I never thought of going from this pose to that pose before, or doing this variation or whatever. Like that's more to help me stay fresh.
Okay, good. That's such a good discernment now. That is serving your students, right? You're doing that with the intention of serving your students. And I'm guessing the same is true for the assist course?
Mm-hmm. It's both.
Okay.
I definitely say it's both, because I get more out of those classes than just, I don't just walk away with, I can do these 5 assists. Like I walk away feeling like I've had a day of learning. More for me, I would even say, than for my students.
How do you feel after that day? Does that start to fill you up a little bit more?
Yeah, I feel great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's key to know. And this is important because myself, as a yoga teacher, I know that I kept diving back into teacher trainings, and it is costly on an energetic level, travel and money-wise. So I understand that as teachers, we love to be in that training, usually. Mm-hmm. And there are times that we can't always be going to a training. Mm-hmm. And especially because you live in the same area as me, right now we've had, 4 days of snow days on top of 2 weeks of Christmas vacation. So that was the other thing that I heard in our initial chat, was just the isolation and your location. So I wonder if there's a way to find that training in a way that's online. So I know of a few online teachers. Would you feel, and I mean for you, I don't mean so that you can further your studies as a teacher. It sounds like you have a really solid foundation there. Does that feel within your means as well? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Definitely. Especially if there was something, like set up, I feel like I do best with routine. And if I don't have that routine, it's hard to kind of follow through with things, because it's easy to say, well, I'll just do it tomorrow.
Right.
And then it doesn't happen, right? But I'm sure that would help in that respect.
Because that might also, so your Monday morning practice at 10 a.m., that 30-minute practice, that's really about yourself. And it can, when I say yoga, I'm using that term very loosely. It can morph into, you could be dancing around and then decide to read a book. Mm-hmm. It's really about looking after yourself and filling up in that time. Mm-hmm. Then I wonder if there's this learning piece. And I wonder about reaching out to a mentor, and it can be one that's online. I'm thinking of one right now, Roslyn, who is based out of the US. She's a yoga teacher, and she does Skype yoga with people online.
Okay.
I'll send you her information, and I'll make sure to put it in the show notes as well. I just get a really great vibe from just her online presence, and she's a member of the Connected Yoga Teacher group. Are you a member of that group? Are you in the Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook group?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I'll share that as well with you.
Okay.
That might help. So the whole intention of the Connected Yoga Teacher group for me was exactly kind of your topic today. So I felt like every time I left a teacher training, I was leaving the inspiration, the knowledge, a schedule, my supportive peers, and then I felt like I was out on my own a lot.
Yeah.
So that's the intention behind that Facebook group. There's conversations that go on there. It's great to ask questions, and they're yoga teachers from all over the world. And the point of it is to be really supportive, like non-competitive, supportive, and exactly these kinds of questions. So maybe what we can do is in that group, do a Monday morning yoga challenge, like get some cheerleaders behind you on this one. Like, okay, it's Monday morning. How did yoga feel? How was that for you? If you're okay with that. It's great to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'll also ask those teachers in there if they know of online courses that are more so for refueling. Oh, there's another retreat that I'm thinking of that is specifically for yoga teachers to recharge. Erin Aquin does that one. So I'll send you that as well.
Okay.
Then we can check in and see. So what I would suggest then is start with that Monday morning. And if that feels like that's bringing a little bit more meaning in, then you can decide, okay, I want to stick with that right now for this stage of my life, or I want to increase it. I want it to now be 2 days a week. Let's check back in, like kind of set this goal that we'll leave this until spring. Unless you're feeling like, no, I've got this and I want to do this. I've done it for a month, now I want to increase. You can let me know that way. But it's nice to be a little gentler with ourselves. If you're doing yoga for yourself 30 minutes a week, and you had said, and I really appreciate your honesty in that it was almost non-existent, you're increasing it 30 minutes every week. I think you'll see a lot from it. Is there anything else coming up for you?
Well, just, from this conversation and just kind of reflecting a little bit, if I think about, why has my own personal practice kind of waned? And I think it's just always, putting the priorities of others first, your family, and somehow along the way, losing the motivation to do it yourself, to be like, okay, I got to find this again. I need to get back to this again, because I've tried that so many times and it hasn't worked. So it's like, okay, having a bit of backup and support and that accountability piece might be just what I need to say, okay, I really am going to do it.
Yeah. That's good.
And make it a priority. And 10 a.m. is a time that I think it will be after I have taken care of my family, taken care of all of their needs. And then I can actually sit down and be like, okay, I can take care of my needs.
Okay.
So I am, still putting everybody else first, and that's fine as long as I know that at that point, then, okay, there is dedicated time.
Right, because you can see it coming ahead. And you can think of it this way as well, that Monday morning 10 a.m. time, that recharge time is also fueling you up for, Tuesday morning, getting everyone out the door and your classes. And so it's fueling a lot. And I think, you don't have to go all out and say, I'm going to do yoga for 2 hours every day for myself. It's the intention of it. This is to refuel. And then we'll check in. If you're still feeling like I really enjoy that time, but there's something else missing, then we can check in around that as well. But I think you'll notice a difference right away with this, especially the intention is nurturing yourself in that. And if I could add one more piece to that, because I heard you saying, you're taking care of a lot of other people. A practice that I really enjoy or really struggle with now enjoy, is when people ask me to do something, then I say, I'll get back to you on that. Instead of saying yes right away, which is normally what I tend to do. Or that was my older pattern. Even things that I really do want to do, different volunteer things for the school, my kids asking me to do things. I don't always want to be saying no, but if I think on it and look at my calendar, it gives me that little bit of space. I'm excited because I think, all right. And it's also making me feel a bit like when I'm doing my morning practice, then I can think, okay, now you're going to be doing your Monday morning practice as well. It's motivating. So I'm excited to hear how that goes. So let us know for sure how that goes. And then also,
I will.
I'd love to hear from other people to hear like, yay, I'm here, I'm cheering you on, or this helps me. So we'll.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Connected Yoga teachers, for tuning in this week. Thank you also to Nina for sharing that with all of us. I found a lot of gems in it. It's inspired me for my own personal practice, and I hope it does the same for you. I want to remind you that the links for each and every show are on our website, theconnectedyogateacher.com. Also, we continue the conversation in the private Facebook group, but also on the Facebook page, The Connected Yoga Teacher. So I'll put links for those in our show notes. I'll also add links for Barb Elias and Natalie Ekdahl, who I talked about, who are my personal coaches for my life and business side of things. Natalie has a free Facebook group, so if you have some business questions, you can jump in there and ask questions or see a lot of answers, even search the Facebook group. I'm excited to update you on that Nina and Roslyn are now working together. So I talked about Roslyn in this consult call with Nina. You're going to hear more from Roslyn in episode 6, and she's going to talk to us about teaching online yoga classes. So if you're interested in teaching private yoga classes, but you're feeling like you're held back by location, this is going to be a great episode. So episode 6. And Erin Aquin, who we heard in episode 1, has a retreat for yoga teachers specifically. So I'm going to ask her for that link and put it in our show notes. Also today, Nina and I talked about the Art of Assist course. I offer this course in Owen Sound, Ontario. It's a 50-hour course, and we learn how to assist students with hands-on assist, but also using props, using our cues, and using various tools, even learning how to assist students without using our hands. A lot of you have asked for an online version of this course, and it is in the back of my mind. If that's something that interests you, send me an email, info@shannoncrow.com, and that will bring it a little more to the front of my to-do list. So thank you, Connected Yoga Teachers. I'm so grateful for you. If you are grateful for this show and it's helping you as a yoga teacher, please go to iTunes, rate and review the show. I know there are a few steps involved, so it means the world to me. Take care and have an amazing week.